Top time says it's 7 o'clock, so we will get started. Welcome to the June 2025 Lake George Central School District Board meeting. We're happy to have you here with us tonight. We'll start with roll call. We have Mario Fasulo couldn't be with us tonight. And our superintendent, John Luthringer, cannot be here tonight for tonight's meeting. As most of you know, based on his updates that he's given, he had back surgery yesterday due to a serious spinal disc herniation, and his surgery went very well. He's expecting a full recovery. Yay. Despite his recent back issues and hospitalization prior to the surgery, he has had a steady helm at the a steady hand at the helm of the district, and our administrative team, our district clerk, and multiple faculty members have really shown tremendous teamwork alongside John's continued strong leadership. So thank you to all of you, and we wish John well and a speedy recovery. We'll miss him tonight. And this evening, Bonnie Hart, our school business administrator, is acting as John's designee. So thank you for that, Bonnie. And we have some special guests in our audience tonight. Are you going to? Okay, yeah, well, we are. I was just going to welcome Annie and Libby and our student board members, and yes, and also Mike Fish, who will be at the table with us in July. So thank you for being here tonight. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please rise if you are able and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we will start the next section, which is presentations and reports, with the science curriculum presentation with Megan Kokler, Ashley Gershon, and Sarah Olson. So thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you. Good evening. We will have two presentations tonight. Both of them have recently gone through the research and audit stage of our curriculum renewal cycle. And each presentation will follow a similar format. They'll begin with a review of some foundational information, talks about work that was accomplished as part of that research and audit phase, and they will share their proposals for the rest of the curriculum renewal cycle. So we'll dive right in to science here. And I'd like to start by, I'm clicking away. Start with a review of our current frameworks for science instruction in the district. You can see here our K-5 schedule. The time for science is split with social studies, and this is a very typical setup for elementary school science and social studies to share a time. The structure changes in 6th grade, however, and they have science scheduled daily for 30 to 40 minutes. And this is due to the increased intermediate level science standards that cover grades 6 through 8. Additionally, in pre-K through 6 science time, we have students experience 3 different STEM units co-taught by Jeff Bezon and the classroom teacher. Those STEM units are about 5 days worth of instruction throughout the school year. From an instructional content perspective, students in pre-K through grades 5 are exposed to all 3 sciences: life, physical, and earth and space sciences, which provides them a broad foundation. Then beginning in 6th grade, each grade, 6 through 8, is focused more deeply in one science. 6th grade is focused on earth and space, 7, life, and 8, physical. It's also important to note that in grade 5, there's a New York State assessment. Prior to this assessment, students must complete 4 state-developed investigations, and those investigations are covered in grades 3 through 5. Now we'll take a look at our junior-senior high program. There's 2 pathways. We're going to begin by looking at more of our traditional pathway. that serves the majority of our students. In this sequence, you can see that students progress through 7th and 8th grade science, which culminates in another New York State assessment at grade 8. Much like the elementary program, they are completing 4 investigations during grades 6 through 8. Those must be completed prior to that 8th grade assessment. Our high school sequence, very hard to see up there. It's very full with opportunities, but it's strategically designed around the New York State diploma requirements, which mandate 3 science credits, 1 in life sciences, 1 in physical sciences, and then the third can be life or physical. So students typically choose their third science credit from options like chemistry, physics, AP biology, AP chemistry, and various electives. This next image shows our accelerated program for science. The key difference occurs in 7th grade. The course here is Science 7-8X. During that course, students complete the 7th and 8th grade curriculum in a single year. This accelerated pace allows students to begin their high school coursework in 8th grade. And you can see that those students take the living environment regents instead of the 8th grade New York State assessment. This early start provides an opportunity for students to pursue more advanced science courses down the road if they choose.
Good evening, nice to see you all. So here we see our current science standards, and they're laid out in a 3-dimensional framework consisting of disciplinary core ideas, that is the content or what scientists know, the science and engineering practices, what scientists do, and the cross-cutting concepts, what scientists think. So this figure here illustrates the components of each of those dimensions. Parts of each of the 3 dimensions are then combined to create the performance expectations, which are the actual standards. This 3-dimensional structure was designed to support very specific instructional shifts, which include phenomena-based learning, that's including real-world problems into science instruction, student-centered inquiry, which is where students explore, model, and explain their scientific thinking, and cross-curricular integration. The standards are divided up into grade level bands, which consists of the elementary band, which is K through 5, the middle level band, which is grades 6 through 8, and the high school band, which are grades 9 through 12. So throughout this phase of research and audit, it was important for us to spend time discussing this 3-dimensional approach to ensure it was in the forefront of our thinking as we audited our curriculum and made decisions about proposal items.
So as can be seen here in the timeline, which has been adjusted because of COVID, so it has been a slower phase in than it was originally intended, but it's a multi-tiered process with the full implementation. We've almost reached the final steps of that with the new assessments. Phase 3 will be completed next year in the spring with the first administration of the new chemistry and the new physics regents. Last year, we reached full implementation for elementary and middle school levels in this timeline.
So now that we've covered some of the foundations, we'd like to dive into the work of the research and audit phase and everything that was accomplished. You can see here the purpose of the research and audit stage is to provide the structure and time for a systemic approach to examining current curriculum content, student outcomes, state and local initiatives, and instructional best practices in a targeted academic area, which ultimately will result in those proposals for the renewal cycle. One of our biggest goals throughout the cycle is creating meaningful K-12 connections and gathering input from all science educators across the district. This is no small feat. Even though we're a small school, we're talking about 6 science teachers at the junior senior high school, and every classroom teacher at the elementary school teaches science as well. So we needed to create some new structures that worked with some of our existing meeting structures. And a key to this success was the creation of a curriculum renewal committee for science that included teachers from both buildings. From the high school, we had nearly the entire science department participating. This included Kevin Burrell, Eric Rosenbrock, Rob Spath, Tammy Darby, Bill Brown, and Sarah Olson. At the elementary school, we had strong representation with Kelsey Cox, Eric Hoover, Alex Poach, Jeff Bizon, and Ashley Gershon. This process that we followed was a strategic approach with each step building on the previous one. So first, our curriculum coordinators and head of departments used their existing meeting structures to complete the curriculum audit, which gathered initial insights from all teachers who taught science. Next, that science curriculum renewal committee analyzed the results of that audit alongside student performance information and identified patterns and highlighted specific areas that needed deeper investigation. And then you can see our third step was that research and exploration. We organized into those grade band groups for targeted research that allowed the teams to really develop proposal ideas and recommendations specific to those grade level needs. So Ashley and Sarah are going to share some of those key insights that emerged from the process.
One of the things that stood out during our curriculum audit was that this is the first major to the standards. So there's been a significant impact to instruction. The implementation of new standards as well as new resources being rolled out and the addition of the science investigations, which are hands-on experiences that are embedded throughout the year, requires a significant investment of time and focus, posing the question, how does this shift course content and instruction?
During the audit at the elementary level, one of the major topics of conversation was finding ways to get creative with instructional time to maximize our ability to teach science. Currently, our schedule has a shared time, as Megan had shared, with science and social studies in grades K through 5. These conversations are taking place alongside the launch of the K-5 Science Program Review and the development of the 25-26 master schedule. So above all, we celebrated the fact that at the K-5 level, our teachers have dedicated time within our 6-day schedule to provide explicit science instruction. This schedule has enabled teachers to intentionally embed the newly required science investigations in meaningful and authentic ways by aligning them with existing units of study. So through this audit, we also determined that middle level discussions specific to science are a priority for our K through 6 teachers. Currently, each of the grade levels, 6 through 8, are responsible for disciplinary core idea, either physical science, life science, and earth and space sciences. So the 6 through 8 teachers began to wonder about the pros of actually spiraling this curriculum throughout this band.
So along with the curriculum audit, we did a data audit, and through that we discovered there's a lot to celebrate in our data, including our Regent scores remaining high through the implementation of new standards, both for the percent passed and for those achieving mastery.
And for the first time that this new test was implemented at the 5th grade level, our 5th graders outperformed all schools in the BOCES region, coming in number 1. And we attribute that success to the effective rollout of the investigations, the dedicated time to teaching science, and developing strong readers, as the test proved to require the ability to read and synthesize information across a variety of ways.
So this information, looking at the data, is the first opportunity to look at the new assessment and what that rollout has how it's impacted our students. And 8th grade here, one thing to just note in it that's important to recognize is that our 8th grade data does not include our accelerated population, because the way we do our acceleration, they take the regents instead of, so they're not double tested. So it raises the question of what would those scores look like if accelerated students were included at Lake George?
So as the process advanced to the step of research and exploration, K through 5 initiated our program review. Our procedures for review remain very similar to the process in which we reviewed our math and phonics programs in the past. We had all teachers come together on the staff K through 5 and determine non-negotiables. And then we established a small committee that was formed with representation across most grade levels in special education. And we'd like to thank Sarah Abrantes, Jess Egan, Emily Holderman, John Lewis, Emily Warmt, and Jeff Bezon for their participation on that review committee. So during our first meeting in May, standards were reviewed and the committee will review and suggest a science program that can ensure a guaranteed and viable curriculum for our K-5 students. We were also curious how other schools in the region develop science instruction across the middle level grades. And we discovered that there was a lot of variety in the structures and time. So, and then there was no single solution for structuring the K-6 curriculum. So it kind of reinforced our idea that we really should create a structure that works for us here at Lake George.
So the research and exploration at the 9th through 12th grade level has been fairly individualized as the rollout has been by course. So as the investigations for those high school courses have become available this year, teachers have spent concentrated time exploring them, developing strategies for embedding them into their instruction, as well as utilizing and becoming familiar with additional resources, specifically in earth and space science, the new ESRT, which is a large component of their course. So the investigations for earth and space science and life science were released in the fall, and for physics and chemistry just this spring, just about a month ago. So because of their recent release, teachers will continue to need time to work on their implementation as they get familiar with them.
So you can see on this slide, ultimately, there's 3 proposals that the Science Curriculum Renewal Committee would like to share with the board, and they build right off of that research and exploration. For K-5, they would like to have a consistent curriculum and assessments. For 6, 7, and 8, they would like to align the specific intermediate science standards to each grade, which may result in spiraling or breaking the sciences up. And then for the 9 through 12 curriculum and assessments, they would need to continue to develop those to align with the next gen science standards. And you can see here that the needs for each are specific to each of those grade bands. One thing I would like to highlight when we talk about the K-5 program review, in previous presentations at this time of year, we've presented an actual program to the board that we would look for support in. The programs that are out there aren't turnkey per se. In other words, they're designed to be the time required to do them thoroughly and with fidelity doesn't fit into a typical elementary schedule. So the process is going to take a little more work in studying what a guaranteed and viable curriculum is. It's also going to mean that we're not going to start it next year. We're going to take time during the develop stage to truly do some curriculum work to either build what we currently have and or take a program and pare it down to fit. Either of those takes a tremendous amount of time and effort to make it meaningful and ensure that we're remaining aligned to the science standards. So we don't have a recommendation at this time. That's the process that Ashley was talking about that we will be continuing in the fall. Do you have any questions for us about science?
Okay, go ahead, Mary.
Thank you. Thanks for this report. I'm just curious about your audit process, the curriculum audit, how do you, how does that happen?
What does that look like?
Yeah.
So we actually have a template that the curriculum leaders and heads of departments share with their grade levels. And there's a set of areas that we're looking for information. So we ask about time. How much time do you have for instruction? What resources are being used? Help me think of some of the other
The
components.
content, like what actual units you teach throughout the year for your grade level.
And so this template has all grade levels together in rows and columns. So once it's completed, when we then have that first meeting with the committee, we can do a deep dive vertically. So grade levels are filling it out individually, and then we have it so that we can look for those patterns across the board.
And did that template, was that created here or is that them? That's great. I have one other question. Oh, looking at when in the research of what other schools do, I was just curious, like how many schools did you look at and how did you choose the ones that you chose?
It was informal. It was really people reaching out to connections they have. So a lot of our science teachers have colleagues at other schools that they regularly work with and share information with. And then I reached out as well through some of our regional networks. So it was a small handful, but it was very scattered as far as their responses.
Curious. Thanks.
And at the elementary school, Mr. Conway had sent out a survey to the regional principals as well, just to get an idea of the elementary programs that people are using. So that was helpful to us to look at what other schools were using. And again, it was a variety across, even within a school, what people were doing.
Anybody else?
Not as much a question as I just wanted to commend all of you with the idea of developing the cross-cutting committee across, all of the grades. That'll end up being invaluable. That's a really wonderful idea and great job. I'm curious too, out of the informal contact, did you reach out to Johnsburg at all? I was just curious.
I do not think that was on our list.
I would just mention that as a suggestion because they were very much on the cutting edge for way when this program even began, the new standards. They were offering training and especially with the younger, like the K-5, it might be a nice school to reach out to.
Great.
So, anyway.
Thank you for the recommendation.
Janine, you mentioned something, the K-12 alignment, while things were chunked, elementary, middle school, high school, and going way back in time when I was on the Strategic Planning and Review Committee, one of the big messages was K through 12 alignment in many ways. And so I heard that woven in this work. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. And I also appreciate the thoughtful work, the collaborative work, and you mentioned taking the time. And I think for successful implementation, you really taking the research time, really including a cross-section of folks and the people who are actually going to be doing the teaching in the research and development is so important. So thank you for taking the time to do that.
It's our pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Those K-12 days are, I think, by far a highlight of the year for us. Just the teachers that are participating are so dedicated to really examining the information in front of them and learning from each other. It's really powerful to see.
And our kids are the benefactors. So
Mhm.
that's what we want. So thank you. Thank you for that so much. And it looks like, does anybody else have anything else? And y'all are on again.
We're
for
here
the-
again.
For the next
Yes.
presentation, which is physical education, health curriculum presentation, again with Megan Coker, Ashley Gershon, and Sarah Olson.
So this will feel very familiar. As I said, this format will be the same as our science presentation. So we will start right off. Thank you, Dane. Looking at the frameworks. So These frameworks are built to meet the New York State requirements for both physical education and health. For physical education, New York State requires specific number of minutes and or times per week that students participate in physical education. And you can see how it's laid out here. Our program meets or exceeds these requirements with this schedule. The mandates for health are less about minutes and times, but more about units and topics that need to be explored in certain age ranges. So we meet these with targeted lessons in grades 4 through 6. And then we have quarter-long courses in both 7th and 8th, and then a full year course in grade 10. And we support this with 3.6 PE staff and 1 full-time health teacher.
The physical education standards are organized by grade level from pre-kindergarten through grade 8, followed by grade bands levels for the high school with 9 and 10 together, and then level 2 being grades 11 through and 12th. The 6 anchor standards that are very tiny up there, represent broad statements about the expectations for students as they prepare for high school graduation and prepare to lead a healthy and active life. Strands delineate and further define the anchor standards by giving grade level outcomes, demonstrating what a student should be able to do and understand. So this was the second school year with full implementation of the most recent New York State physical education learning standards, as you can see here in the phases. Although the PE standards were updated in 2020, the health standards haven't been updated since 1996. Which was the year I graduated from high school. So for each of the standards that are shown here, there are student will statements that provide specific skills and knowledge for each standard at 3 levels: elementary, intermediate, and commencement. In addition to the standards, there is a guidance document that was shared in 2005 as an educator's tool, which reflects a standards-based, skills-driven approach to health education. So educators are provided with a detailed framework to develop and refine their health education curriculum, instruction, and assessment practices to align with standards at the district, state, and national level through that.
So we've already talked a bit about the purpose of our research and audit stage. And as we discussed, one of our goals is creating those connections pre-K-12. And one advantage that we had with the PE and health department is it is a smaller department than some of our other content areas. So we were able to have every PE and health teacher participate in the process together. And I'd just like to share that membership with you. And again, share our appreciation for their dedication. So that was Kyle Manny, Kelly Collins, Blake White, Heather Usher, Steve Gadetti, and both Sarah Olson and Ashley Gershon participated as well.
So these next 2 slides will look familiar as they are the same as you saw in the science presentation. The structure of these steps have remained consistent with the research and audit steps that were completed with prior content areas. PE and health teachers, K through 12, completed a curriculum audit during the monthly meetings in which we listed all units taught across the year at each grade level. And as previously mentioned, all representatives of our PE health department were present at our curriculum renewal committee meeting in February, in which we reflected on the audit that they completed and reviewed the existing PE plan. This committee worked together to finalize and prioritize the proposal items we will share with you tonight. So as the Curriculum Renewal Committee examined the curriculum audit that was completed K-12, they were asked to share what they noticed, things that they saw as strengths, and what they wondered, and to identify areas in which the department could grow. So through the curriculum audit, it was noticeable that our PE department offers a variety of activities that prioritize lifelong fitness, which ultimately leads to strong engagement from our student body. Some of the units of study involved a direct connection to the resources our community has to offer. The PE department shared that they would like to enhance the community connection by offering career opportunities through fitness. There was great discussion around the topic of shared PE staff between the elementary school and the high school due to the declining enrollment, and how to ensure programming and the student connections stay intact as we continue to navigate these changes. The committee agreed that incorporating dance across grade levels was an area of need and that further discussion and planning is necessary as assessments are created.
So you can see that they have 4 proposal items, which came directly out of that work of their analysis. They would like to develop a dance unit pre-K-12. They'd like to continue to integrate career opportunity connections. They'd like to explore assessment options and student goal setting as a means of that assessment. And lastly, they'd like to update the district plan. So the PE plan is a district document that is required by the state. It outlines topics such as goals and objectives, curriculum and required instruction, adapted PE, athletics and intramural activities, and more. It was last updated in 2020, which was prior to the release of the current standards. So it needs to be updated to reflect the changes to our programming and align with those new standards. And the needs that they have outlined directly relate to that. You can see the theme of time and the time just to do the work. They feel very comfortable and passionate in their ability to accomplish those tasks. And you can see two of those have summer in parentheses. They already have plans to be doing some of that work this summer. Do you have any questions about the PE health?
Just a quick question. Does the state put a time limit on how long you have to update the curriculum to be in alignment with the current standards?
I mean, they don't tell you a cutoff point. There's no one necessarily coming to check on it. But if we go back to this slide, it does talk about full implementation, fall 2023 ongoing. This came right from the state website. So that ongoing is their language.
I love the idea of community connections. I'm curious what that looks like, bringing the phys ed into community connections.
They've done a variety of different things, and I might work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can share some of so for example, they have partnered with Rock Sport to do an exposure, kind of a unit or time with students going out into, I think they went to, I don't know what, Shelving Rock Falls, or maybe one of those kinds of things, or having a fitness instructor come in and do a class or share the career options, or having a trainer. I think there was a trainer who came in and shared what they do. And so those kinds of either somebody in the community coming in to the classes and speaking to them, or them going and doing something outside of the school with a community. The fire department came. That's right. That was a fun one. They really enjoyed. They kind of had a little competition with I think Mr. Kokoza might have gotten in on that one as well. So, so those are the kinds of things that they're looking to increase.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for those examples. That's great. Thank you. Anybody else have anything else? Well, thank you for both of those presentations and for all the work that represents, K through 12. Much appreciated.
Thank you for your support with the work.
Thank you. Yeah. So the next item on our agenda is the elementary update with Mr. Jim Conway, our elementary school principal.
All right. Good evening, everybody. And I just want to start off on behalf of the administrative team, Megan and Fran and myself, thanking Donna Prime, thanking her for her service on the Board of Education and for all that you did for the students and staff in the district. So thank you, Donna, and congrats. Yeah. All right. It has been a very busy month, but just some quick highlights before I get some other things. Murphy's Mile, Randy's Run, big success as always. It is an amazing community event. Our art show and open house, which you had an opportunity to walk through the building on that evening, was very well attended by our students and families, and Allison Warren did a wonderful job. Our artwork has elevated back to where it has been in the past because of her. The spring concert in the auditorium, it's amazing because it's still packed. We're getting smaller, but more kids are participating, which is wonderful. Tommy and Mallory have done a tremendous job with that and the recruitment of our students, and it was wonderful. Also, in keeping with music, we had about 50 students that went down to the MVP Arena about a week and a half ago and performed in this concert, American Young Voices, with about 2,000 students from around the Capital District. It was a great show. It really was tremendous, and our kids are just amazing. Bike rodeo, a long-standing tradition. I have to get that plug in because our parents certainly come in and they help with that. Blake and Heather have run that program for 3rd and 4th grade students for years, and in between raindrops, they somehow got that in. Very busy this time of year, compiling data and looking at our goals, right? We set these annual these one-year goals through our educational cabinet, and we administer our measurable results assessment, our MRA, which surveys our parents, our students, and our staff. And we just finished that today with our students. So we're able to look at some of those autopsy goals, taking a look at that data. How did we do? And I'll share this, that our leadership goal, which really was focused on community and family engagement in our overall school program. Our scores increased. We didn't quite reach our targets, right? Reach for the moon, hit the stars. We were close. Our academic goal, which really was focused on students having an understanding of setting goals, developing plans, carrying out those plans to reach whatever that end in mind is. Again, score increased, didn't quite reach our target. Culture goal, trusting relationships, and this is students having trusting relationships with the staff. Score increased and exceeded our target, which I'm really excited about that. Isn't that really what's most important? We want to have those connections for our students. Chronic absenteeism, we've been really focused on that district-wide. We don't have our final results in, but I believe that we will be lower than we were last year, which was wonderful. We set a very lofty target, as we did with all of these goals, for 5%. We'll probably be in the 6.5% range for chronically absent students, which is outstanding. We want to keep getting that down. And then I don't have the final numbers yet. I know that Ashley's working on compiling that along with some of our staff on our growth in reading, our high expectations, and maybe super high to expect that all children, regardless of any challenge they may be facing, showing years growth as readers. But I know that we'll be close if we don't quite reach that. So we talked a little bit tonight at the curriculum meeting about how we provide support to students. And for a number of years, we've had a multi-tiered system of support in place. And that's both social emotional screening that we do on our students through multiple measures throughout the course of the year, and academic measures. And that information is starting to come in, and I look forward to sharing that information with you over the summer. Last few things, just upcoming important dates. Flag Day ceremony, 8:15 by the flagpole, and it looks like nice weather on Friday. Fingers crossed. So if you're able to make it, come join us and sing a patriotic song or two. Thank you for confirming your attendance at Leadership Day on Wednesday the 18th at 8:15. If you can get there by 8:10, we'll get you in there some prime seating and treats. I also wanted to just mention the moving up ceremony. Well, I'll mention two things. On the 25th, our dismissal, we still will be doing the bubble send-off. So come join us. That's always fun to see. And then on the 25th, our moving up ceremony, come sweat in the gym at 6 p.m. As we send our 56th graders on to the junior senior high with Mr. Kokoza. And that's the report.
Thank you, Jim, for setting the targets really high, even knowing that maybe they aren't attainable, but you never know. And like you said, you reach for the moon. So thank you for taking that risk and setting the targets high. And you mentioned something about reading, which made me think about the mention of reading connection to science.
It was
And-
huge. It was
Yeah,
absolutely huge.
recognizing how critical science, math, it's important for everything. There's so much reading involved in every curriculum. So thanks for your focus on that. And I meant to mention that thank you for mentioning that reading connection. So it's really important.
The other term is grit. And Bree would agree to that, right? Kids being determined and not giving up when they're faced with a reading challenge. And on that assessment last year, it was a bear. It was not fair to kids. I know I complained and other colleagues did with the state, but our kids did show grit and they persevered through it. So, and hopefully they did the same this year with slightly fewer questions. But
Well, that's awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
thank you.
Next item on our agenda is the secondary update with Mr. Frank Koza, our secondary principal.
Hi, good evening. I want to echo what Jim said about Donna. I just love the fact that we have the Prime family still connected to the Lake George schools, despite their children graduating quite a while ago. You and Ted both gave back to this school that I know you and your family hold very fond. Hopefully the next generation of Primes stay connected, hopefully through grandchildren or children to keep our enrollment up. But Donna, not yet, but any day now, right? But we want to thank Donna for her perspective and unique offering. Whenever we're faced with a challenge and a topic, Donna always has that fresh perspective, that wider perspective. So I value that, and thank you, Donna, for everything. And with John, you know, Bonnie and Megan and Jim and I, we just and Sarah as well. He's got to rest, but John is still very much connected to the school, and just talking to him this morning, you could hear in his voice that he has that energy that he wants to get back. So we're excited to have him come back. Some really quick things. We announced the musical today, so the musical next spring. You ready? Drum roll. Next spring's musical is going to be The Little Mermaid.
Ooh, fun.
So talk it up. We'll get some buzz going. Next year's musical is Little Mermaid. Graduation, we are graduating 57 seniors, a class of 2025. They will be sailing into the future. That is the theme of the ceremony, sailing into the future through calm waters and rough waters. So calm seas and rough waters. You'll have to see. You'll have to be there. You know by now, Janine, I don't share anything.
We'll be on the edge of our seats.
So the board is reminded that graduation is Thursday, June 26th at 6 o'clock in the gymnasium. I asked that you were in the main hallway all robed up by 5:35. Not running in the door. It's 5:59. So 5:30 or thereabouts be in the main hallway. And as we typically have done, Katie will be the lead in handing out diplomas. However, if any of you have a special connection with a graduate, be sure to work that out with Katie beforehand. Correct, Katie?
Yes.
And we're going to have a little fun here. So I'm going to have Annie and Libby come on up and stand next to me. So the entire school community, we are so excited to present for the first time in Lake George Central School history our two inaugural student board members. So Annie and Libby are 10th graders, and I'm going to talk a little about them and embarrass them. And then I told them that the board is going to ask some questions, so you guys can grill them or at least welcome them. So we'll start to my right. Annie Fish, 10th grader, daughter of Mike and Bree. Bree is an educator in our school, so family of educators. Annie has given so much to the school system through athletics, student government, her love for history, music and band. What's your instrument? Trumpet. And the Fish family has hosted an exchange student. So we are very pleased to have Annie Fish as one of our student board members. And Elizabeth Pape, Libby, is also a sophomore, 10th grader. She has done so much for our schools as well. Daughter of Kate and Fred, and we all know Miss Kate. She's an educator as well. And Libby has given back to the school and supported the school through student government, student council, forum, the musicals. She is quite a performer. And the Papes have hosted an exchange student as well. So we have two superstars, right, Mr. Conway? Right, Mrs. Coker? Like, they're going to do just a dynamic job representing the student body for the Lake George schools. So I don't know, Annie or Libby, if you have anything you just want to say quickly to the board?
Well, we're very excited to be taking on this role in the next year. I'm so excited to learn from you all and to hopefully be able to help make decisions or just be representation for you guys. Thank you for welcoming us.
Yeah, same thing with Libby, but I'm just really excited to have a part in this and kind of a say a little bit and just be here to give opinions if you need them and make new connections.
So doesn't that just reinforce the decision to move forward with this? So that's awesome.
We are very excited to have you to come aboard, and something we've been talking for several years about bringing student voice onto the board. And, you know, the timeline was set by the state, but we're not doing this because we're required to. We're doing this because we want to. And we're excited to have your voices. They're important to us. And we value that. And we look forward to you guys starting over the summer, some mentorship. Janine Bieber is going to be your board member who is going to be your official mentor. Of course, we'll all, you know, we're all a team. We all work together, but Janine will be your point person, your official mentor as you come on board. And yeah, so we welcome you. We're excited to have you. So I say round of applause for. Thank you for being brave and being the first ones to, we're going to all learn together. So we'll be kind to one another and forgiving to one another as we embark on this adventure. So thank you.
So Janine is going to reach out to you guys in the coming weeks to schedule a time to get together before the August board meeting and answer any and all questions that you might have. You're going to love Ms. Bieber. She's awesome and she's an educator, so she gets it.
And she's retiring.
And she's
June.
retiring
Yeah.
as well. So she's super excited.
Well, and I'm glad y'all are here tonight. This is really a typical board meeting. You know, you'll see how things go from beginning to end. So pretty typical board meeting.
And later in the board meeting, the board will be officially acting to accept you and your appointment as student board members for the 25-26 school year. So congratulations, ladies. Well done. All right. So they're all set unless you guys have any questions of them.
Nope.
All right. Thank you, ladies. No, I'm sorry. So we're going to launch, are we going to do the presentation for cell phones? Do we have that loaded or? We're going to briefly jump into just the internet enabled device policy and law. Jim and Megan will jump in as needed. What I thought we would do under John's direction is just kind of review where we've been with this as a school community and where we're headed. So it's, I turned it off. So the use of, we're going to go back to the first slide. Yep. Nope. One more. Thanks, Dane. So as very quickly, 30,000 foot review, the legislature, the New York State government passed a bill effectively banning the use of internet-enabled personal devices throughout the school day. So what I'm going to try to highlight throughout these is just the difference of where we're at now and where we need to be. That first sentence of entire school day is the difference. So we currently do not allow internet-enabled, can I just call them cell phones? We currently do not allow cell phones in the elementary school and the high school during instructional time. Okay, it's been a long-standing expectation of the school system where students, when teachers are teaching, their phones are not out. And we have policies and have had policies where this law expands that as it states with specificity the entire school day. The device definition is interesting because it drills down to smartphone, tablet, smart watch. Just live there for a second. Or any other device capable of connecting to the internet. Another change in that statement there. The fact that smartwatches are included in this legislation. It also defines the school day to not only instructional times, here's the additional change for us, non-instructional times, which includes homeroom, lunch, recess, study halls, passing time, and I'm going to add one more, free periods that occur on campus, because the definition of where includes everything within the building. So as a result of the legislation, districts must embark on some initiatives. First off, a district policy has to be developed. Sarah Barton has been incredible in getting us policies from not only Erie One BOCES, but also New York State school boards. We have extensively reviewed those policies, looked at what we currently have and those sample policies, and we'll talk a little about those in a few minutes. We have to have a plan for where the devices, the cell phones, will be stored when students are here. We have to have exceptions to our ban, and they're listed there, and also accommodate for students with 504 and IEP needs. And all of this needs to be done by August 25th in place. So where are we at? Initially, Mr. Luthringer has been incredible in sharing this information out very proactively to our school community. In fact, the moment that the state budget was passed and we got specific language around this legislation, John proactively shared that with our school community. We started to solicit feedback from families as to what they wanted us to consider. We also solicited feedback from students and staff at that initial stage of what they would like us to consider before we started to develop a framework. We then embarked as an administrative team to develop a framework based on the law, but additionally based on what we had in place. For efficiency, why reinvent the wheel? Mr. Conway had very clear expectations and procedures at the elementary level that have been working for quite a while. And the junior, senior high school has had very clear expectations. So we just had to expand it to meet the requirements of the legislation. We then shared that draft feedback with our stakeholding groups, which includes cabinet, forum, our student body at the high school, and our staffs at both buildings. And we garnered feedback from all those stakeholders, and we made the appropriate adjustments. Then we shared it back out again to the wider school community of parents, students, and staff again, asking for additional feedback. That feedback actually closed on Monday. And we're going to take that feedback that we received from our final draft of the framework and make any appropriate revisions that we need to. Megan, I don't know if you want to speak to any of those.
The one thing that I was going to add is, in addition to having that feedback help develop the plans, we also created a frequently asked questions document that specified some more clarity around the regulations, but also answered very specific questions that we saw coming in from those stakeholder groups.
And it was great because from that frequently asked question document, there were themes in there. Clearly, families in our school community had concerns about how are they going to get a hold of their child during the school day. Clearly, students have had concerns about where their device has to go during the day and whether or not they're going to be able to access it during the school day. So we tried as best as we could to address those themes from the feedback through that document. Our next step, and probably our more rigorous step, not that what we've been doing has not been rigorous, but this is where the rubber hits the pavement, I guess you could say, with the policy development. We took Erie One's policy, we took New York State School Board's policy, which were directly based on the legislation. And we are leaning in the direction of embracing the Erie One BOCES policy. That draft policy, Megan, Jim, Bonnie, myself, John Luthringer have spent hours pulling apart, looking at what works best for the elementary level, pre-K through 6, and what works best 7 through 12, with the lens of what a policy should do. Because remember, the policy drives the framework of the handbook for the elementary school and the framework for the handbook for the high school. So ensuring whatever's in that policy supports the language that Mr. Conway would like for the elementary school and supports what we're looking to do at the high school. Our hope is in the coming weeks that the policy can be reviewed at the policy committee, whether that be through a meeting or virtually. And then from there, our hope would be a first read at the July meeting. If that's not possible, we could do a first read at the August meeting. But we feel, and I don't want to speak for the group, but they're shaking their heads yes, we feel fairly confident that the policy from Erie One and the revisions that we've made have put us in a really good place for a first read at the July 1 meeting. Our also thought moving forward is to continue to provide updates to parents, teachers, and students throughout the summer. So if we land on a policy in the coming weeks that we feel comfortable with, sharing that policy out with the wider school community during the month of July for them to review as well, as the board is reviewing it with a first read in July, if that works out, that timing works out. With the hope that when we get to our August board meeting, that we could have a second read, perhaps some dialogue before any adoption, and if need be, make adjustments and perhaps push off the adoption to a later time or adopt it if all looks good at that point. I'm going to pause for a second. I don't know if there's any additions that you'd like to make.
I think that the process has been a good one. Obviously, greater impact at the secondary level, but certainly having impacted ours and being on the same page and connected with this, it will be a natural process for our students to have an understanding of what that expectation is. And as far as getting that information out over the summer to our families, it only helps us as students are arriving back at school when we have those conversations again about what this all looks like.
The final caveat, and then we can answer any questions that you might have, is that one of the big focuses at the junior senior high school will be with staff training. When the students come back in September, they're going to have had 8 weeks of a device in their hand. And to go draconian and cold turkey with enforcement is going to set us up for failure. So working with the staff and the student body through educating the students as to what the expectations are, supporting students through what they should be doing each morning as a routine. I mean, the simple point of some students have never used their locker, and the last time they have tried a combo is 7th grade. So we probably would set ourselves up to failure if on day one we're enforcing the storage plan that's in the policy without supporting our students through it and supporting our teachers through this transition period. So really talking to the students about what the expectations are and easing into it those first critical few weeks of school. So I don't know if I threw a lot, as did Jim and Megan, at you, but that's where our district is at currently with the cell phone ban.
Well, one thought I had as you're speaking, when you're talking about, I think it's important for students, staff, everybody to understand the why behind the new law and have that education of, why did New York State do this? Why did many states do this? And I mean, from what I've read and the understandings, student mental health and distracted learning. There's a lot of reasons. There was a great book written, is it called The Anxious Generations? One book, and one of my sons actually had read it and reached out to me, and he said, "Mom, this is a really great book." And when he heard about this law, he really connected it to some of the information in that. So I think it's really important for folks to understand why was this legislation even put in place. So I think buy-in for understanding that would probably be really important. So, yeah, go ahead. Oh.
So first of all, I just want to say, boy, perfect timing for having student board members with us. Your feedback and input will be invaluable, your experiences, et cetera. Secondly, when you're mentioning easing people in, is that, and do you mean in terms of, cutting back slowly on it, not slowly, but not having it be a full ban all day right away? Is that, is that what you mean by?
Yeah, so Janine, the biggest change for our students is going to be passing time, lunchtime, free periods, and in this space right here. So having grace the first 2 weeks of school, and supporting kids through, okay, I see you have your phone. Come on, let's go to the locker and put it in there. Or whether they're in the lunchroom or in a study hall and violating the new policy. Okay, we see you have your phone there. We're going to take it. You're going to pick it up at the end of the day. Or, things of that nature, just kind of supporting them through it those first few weeks of school. I mean, I could easily on day one say, nope, here's the policy and this is what you need to do. I think that's really going to set us up for failure. But additionally, it doesn't give us the opportunity to kind of, as Katie was saying, educate the students as to why this is happening. So we have 6 grade levels. We meet with them the first 6 full days of school, 1 grade level a day. So I need at least 6 days to ease into this so we can sit with the students, talk to them about it, really have them understand the reasons of the why and what the policy actually means for them. Within the classroom, there's going to be little to no change because the teachers already, for the most part, with a few exceptions, don't allow it in the classroom during instructional time. It's those unstructured times where it's going to be the biggest challenge.
Yeah, and I think about our kids, a tricky time for them is at the end of the day when they're leaving and they're going to their after-school clubs, co-curriculars.
Yeah.
And we really have not really said a whole lot there. And generally they're not on, but sometimes kids may be. And so having that discussion with kids will be something that, that's still the expectation that it's not the end of the day yet.
Well, thank you. It's good to hear that, there'll be grace in the process because I worry it's an addiction for a lot of these kids. And yeah, it'll be very scary for some of them. So thank you.
I was going to say the same thing. Thank you for showing them grace because as someone who's still kind of mentally a teenager, like to get through this board meeting without looking at my phone is hard. Like it is an addiction, so I'm glad to hear you're going to kind of go easy on them. I know the state has their deadline, but there's realistic. And I just had a practical question. The whole FAQ page, where do you find that? Like, I was just looking like on the webpage on the school. Is it the school webpage? or is
It's
it the
not,
Parents
it's not posted on the school webpage. It was shared through a Parent Square communication. So when the draft plans were made, information about the legislation, information about the why, there was a report on the governor's page a link to that was shared, the draft plans and the FAQ all through Parent Square at this point. But I'm sure as we finalize more things, we would share it also on
For
the
the public,
website.
because I think even non-parents are going to be questioning this.
Yes, it's
Like-
part of what we would like to see in the month of July. If the timeframe plays out in the way I shared that John and the team is looking to do, that would be part of what we share out in July, so it can answer people's questions around the policy. Last piece you touched on, Donna, I just want to quickly talk about, and I know we have some educators in the room today. Not only is it going to be educating the students, but it's also the staff. So I've been trying the past few days to not have my phone. From a logistical piece, it's really difficult on my secretary, because that was her way of communicating with me. Hey, I need you back in the office, or hey, there's something going on out front. You got to get out front. So I'm probably going to have to get a walkie-talkie or something, because I want to model that behavior. And we want to have our staff, our instructional staff, our support staff model that behavior as well. So not only is this going to be adjustment for our students, this is going to be an adjustment for the staff, because they too deal with that same feeling that you articulated, or addiction, or however you want to describe it. I think we all have a bit of that. So it's going to be an adjustment.
I think you'll need more chocolate, like bowls of candy and stuff. Okay, that's my recommendation to get people through the beginnings, but good luck to everybody.
I wanted to ask about the parents' perspective. I know I'm probably old enough to know life without cell phones in this building. And, there needs to be a plan. How do parents contact the kids during the day? Because I think it was it interrupted class, we had the old, buzz into the classroom, your parent wants you to call, whatever. And I don't know how that's all going to work. I think parents have that, I don't want to say addiction, but I think they're used to be able to communicate constantly with their student. And I think that needs to be planned out. I'm sure you already have something planned out.
Yeah, so in the document that Megan alluded to, the frequently asked questions, it's one of our larger questions that we define very specifically. So if parents at the elementary level, they're going to be calling the main office, and a message will be at an appropriate time sent to the student.
There are emergencies, and there are things that are not. And so it's almost that mind shift of more of an elementary school traditional model. And that's not easy. That will not be easy for folks.
And at the junior, senior high school, actually, if you call the main number right now, because it's a leftover to the bygone day of what you're talking about, the first statement that comes out of that voice, which is my voice recorded 18 years ago, is if you'd like to leave a message for your child, please press 1. And it goes straight to the greeter's desk, and the greeter will take a note and get that message to the child. We also are going to encourage parents to utilize school email. So if they want to send an email directly to their child, they can as well. Yeah.
And that information is actually required as part of the policy, that how parents, yeah.
One question. Are the devices going to be required to be powered down?
So in our frequently asked question document, we answer that.
I've looked at it numerous times.
And it says silent or powered off. So that will be our first attempt. That might be one of the first edits to the policy. But at the junior, senior high school and at the elementary, we're saying silent or powered off or powered off.
Because I do think it's going to be anxiety provoking to physically separate kids from their phones.
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you for all the hours of time that the administrative team has put into examining the policies, and it's just so valuable in setting the district up for success. And
That's it. Thank you.
So we'll be looking to Marianne about the policy. If not, if John, I know John has been keeping you posted. So thank you so much. I know that was a little longer than we had
No,
planned, but
it was great. And thank you to John for all his transparent communications, as you mentioned, Fran. So the whole team. So thank you. Okay, thank you. Our next section of the meeting is committee reports, and our first committee report is Buildings and Grounds. Janine Bieber is the chair of that committee and will give that report.
Well, our last meeting was before the budget vote. Seems like a lifetime ago, but it was on May 13th, and Bonnie and in conjunction with John and also our guest Sean O'Brien from Tetra Tech, they covered a lot of ground. It was planning time, so there was a lot going on. So Bonnie, thank you for the minutes. Yeah. So at any rate, basically the overview of the meeting. We conducted a thorough review of the daily plant and maintenance operations for the 2025 fiscal year. So this looked at, all the major project accomplishments, as well as looking at projects that were mandated requirements and emergency projects, unplanned projects to include, for example, the fire panel replacement, and then the situation with the existing bus garage boiler replacement. So we went through building project updates. We went through the current 24-25 capital outlay, and also looked at the plans for the 25-26 capital outlay. As everyone here, we talked about this a little bit already. The 24-25 capital outlay project is nearly complete. The gym floor is undergoing resanding, and the work was expected to be finished by the end of this month. So it's done. Hey, that's great. Okay. So also we reviewed, like I said, the proposed scope for 25-26 capital outlay project. That includes the abatement and refinishing of the high school cupola, as well as the replacement of carpeting at the high school. And that was before the budget vote. Since we have had a successful budget vote, we'll collaborate with the architect to prepare and submit the necessary documentation to the state with the goal of completing the work during the upcoming winter and spring seasons. Also, the committee reviewed the details of 2 additional projects that'll be funded through the general fund and managed internally by the district. And the first project involves completing the installation of the remaining 6 univents at the elementary school. And that initiative will be partially funded through the National Grid Clean Energy Incentive Program. And then the second project is the multi-phase reconstruction of the 7th grade cluster. Then we moved on to the bus garage facility update. As I said, Sean O'Brien was here, the senior project manager from Tetra Tech, and John, Bonnie, and Sean provided the committee with a detailed update on the transportation facility project. The update included a review of the current project budget, which at that time was remaining on track. And the plan is for the district to utilize funds from the capital reserve prior to securing a bond anticipation note, which is a strategy to help avoid additional fees associated with short-term borrowing before the end of the fiscal year. The project's milestone schedule were reviewed and discussed, and most phases, believe it or not, even with the weather at that time, were on schedule. I don't know, hopefully there's not too many changes. That's fantastic. There was one small area of delay, and that had to do with the road work for utility installation, and that was pending a permit from the New York State Department of Transportation. So still waiting, yeah. Also, John talked about the district's partnership with a neighboring property owner. This collaboration included an easement granted by the neighbor to allow temporary power access to the site that was discovered was needed in the process. And the district acknowledged the impact on the neighbor's existing landscaping and is committed to installing shrubbery to establish a nice visual buffer between the facility and the adjacent property. So that was a nice, working together with a community member. Also, there was a concern raised at a recent community meeting regarding traffic speed and safety along 9L near the site. So the district consulted with the town and Tetra Tech to investigate the issue. And after reviewing the data, it was confirmed that the required stopping site distance was it exceeds the requirement that was necessary. So let's see, should the former water slide world property at the corner be developed in the future? The town indicated that a full traffic study will be conducted by the developer. Other than that, the last thing that was talked about was our building condition survey. As we know, the building condition survey will be conducted in the summer of 2025. And this will be performed by Tetra Tech. And in fact, they will be conducting an enhanced version of the study to provide a deeper analysis of the facility's needs. These results, of course, will guide future building projects and planning efforts onward into 2026 and 2027. And that was where we ended.
Got a lot going on. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for the
Well,
details. That's great. Yeah.
Thanks to Bonnie and to John for.
Thank you.
all
Does anybody have any questions for Janine? Okay, thank you. The next committee report is the Culture and Climate Committee. Donna Prime is the chair of that committee and will give us that report.
Okay. Our committee met last week, and we discussed several exciting initiatives that are going on to make our school culture and climate always improve. So it started, John provided the committee with a presentation from the BOCES Wellness, Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Workshop, which took place last March. We sent 3 7th grade students who joined students from all around the region, and their topic was working on ways to create a sense of belonging for all students in their schools. And it sounded like it went very well. It went so well, actually, about 60 students attended, and they actually now have plans to meet again in the future so that all the students will get to discuss what they did at their schools and how it worked and what didn't. And so it will become an ongoing effort. That's great. So within our school, there are 2 clubs, the Anti-Bullying Club and the Effective School Club, which are kind of the point people for this project. But the goal is really to create school-wide awareness and activities so that all the students will be involved. Another initiative we discussed was the Restorative Practices Initiative, which continues to make progress in both schools, the elementary and the junior senior high. I think it was 47 staff members participated in the first round of the book study, and now there are a couple dozen more who want to have another round of it. So more people are kind of buying into this whole idea. And the first round participants are now working together to build their capacity to really put what they learned into practice in the classroom and in the schools. So it's exciting to see everybody working together to do that. Another exciting development that we discussed was that our district, we believe that our unified sports program has progressed to the point where we think we're going to qualify to become a Special Olympics Unified Champion School, which is a designation that you really have to have a lot of different components together to qualify for that. So our unified basketball team's been a great success for a few years. This year we added bocce. Bowling has always been an inclusive sport. So I think that, we have more and more sports where all of the students can participate. At the elementary school level, we've had some students participate in some Special Olympics events. And not only just the student participation, but the coaching staff had to get specialized coaching to qualify. So a lot of people have done a lot of work. We submitted our application to Special Olympics this spring, and we should hear back in the fall if we've met the qualifications to get this designation. But even if we don't get the designation, kind of like what you said about the student board members, we're not doing it for the designation. We're doing it because we want to have these opportunities for our students, and we're going to keep making improvements. And providing all these opportunities, but it would be nice to get the public recognition. So it's kind of exciting that we're at that level. Okay, and the last thing that we discussed at our meeting was we reviewed the results of our annual district culture and climate survey. This gets distributed to parents, staff, and students every year. We continue to get high satisfaction levels, especially in the area of school safety. There was a new question this year about it for the students about if they have pride in being a member of our school district, and over 80% of them said yes. So that's great. And in general, our results have been consistent across the last several years, and no new concerns were expressed by any of the communities that were surveyed. And the district will continue to use the results to guide our work towards making Lake George schools a welcoming space for everybody. So that was it.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Donna, and thank you for chairing that committee and being a great leader in that committee. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thanks again, Donna. The next policy report, our next committee report is the policy committee report. Mary Ann McKenzie chairs that committee, and we'll give that report.
Okay, thank you. This evening, we have 3 policies moving to second read. They are 1210, 5661, and 5160. We discussed each of these policies at last month's regular board meeting, so we won't review those again tonight. We have 1 policy that was reviewed and there are no suggested changes. And we have 5 policies moving forward to first read tonight. So to start off, policy 1110, school district and Board of Education legal status and authority. This policy came before the committee per our Lake George manual review. There were no suggested revisions to this policy, and so we recommend it just receives an updated date of review. Under first read policies, 1120, Board of Education qualifications, numbers, and terms of office, also reviewed per our routine manual review. We had a couple suggested revisions in this policy. One was to make the distinction between a full board members and student board members. Specifically in terms of it's prohibited to have 2 full board members from the same family serving on the board at the same time, but that does not hold true if it's a student board member and an adult full member. There was another suggested update just to outline the terms of office to reflect the next 5 years, just to update the years that are listed there. Policy 1230 is resignation and dismissal. Oh, I'm going to do these 2 together. 1230 resignation and dismissal, and 1310 powers and duties of the board. Those were both reviewed per our routine review of the manual, and each of those just had 1 or 2 non-substantive wordsmithing revision suggestions. 7330 searches and interrogations of students, also Lake George manual review policy. And this policy received a lot of attention from the policy committee. It was reviewed electronically back in April, discussed at the May in-person meeting. Attorney was consulted, and there are suggested revisions that came from all of those interactions. So what you see in the policy tonight, the revisions that are reflected here are several. One in the section regarding factors that can be considered when you're determining a reasonable suspicion before you search a student or interrogate. It's just some language adjustments to just to increase the approach of fairness and to minimize assumptions. There was a cleanup and clarification of definitions of different types of searches. Then those definitions will be looking to align those with the same language in the district-wide code of conduct. And then there was a conversation to address and define the concept of strip searches. And the revision provides more definitive definition and clear guidance around this topic, specifically strip searches by staff at Lake George are prohibited if there is some reason related to safety that such a search would be indicated, then law enforcement would be contacted to address that. And lastly, on this policy, when a student, if for any reason is singled out for an questioning or a search, regardless of the findings, parents will be notified. So, and then the last policy up for first read tonight is 5685, and this is a new policy required. It's called maximum temperature for school buildings and indoor facilities. The Erie One BOCES, our policy services, sent this policy, and it's based on, it's in response to the Senate Bill 53397A, which added section 409-N to Ed Law, requiring school districts and BOCES to develop and implement policy to ensure the health and safety of students and staff on extreme heat condition days. And that's defined as greater than or equal to 82 degrees in educational and support services spaces, not including kitchens. And so here's the new policy for your review and first read. And that's it. Any questions?
Questions? The next section we have is public comment. Okay. We have a sign-up sheet for public comment, which we use so that we have people's contact information so that we can get back to you easily. If you didn't have the opportunity to sign up, but you would like to make a public comment, you're welcome to do that. And if you're attending virtually and have a comment or a question, you can email the board at boe@lkgeorge.org, and the board and superintendent will get back to you as soon as we can. Is there anybody that had a public comment? Before you come up, I want to go through our procedures for the public comment, and then you're welcome to come up. Have the monthly reading of the public comment procedures. The Lake George Central School District Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, and other interested persons to its meetings. Community involvement at board meetings is encouraged so that the board can better understand and represent the views of our constituents. Please be aware that by law, individual student information or particular personnel issues cannot be discussed at public sessions of the board. When you come to the microphone, please tell us your name. Statements are limited to 3 minutes. After you've made your statement, please be seated. The board and district staff take public comment very seriously and take careful notes of questions and concerns. And we will, so that they'll be taken so we can get back to you as soon as possible after the meeting. The first public comment period is for items related to the agenda, and the second public comment period is for other items. If you're I already said if you're attending virtually, what you can do. Since we don't have anybody on the list, I will just go with the gentleman who has raised his hand.
All right, thank you, and good evening, board. For the record, my name is Lucas Doby. My children are in 7th and 9th grade, and I appreciate the cell phone presentation tonight. I'm pretty unhappy with the governor and the legislature taking away our home rule, I guess you could say. I think we're a great policy as it stands, but so be it. This is where we are, and we got a lot of work to do before August 25th. So I appreciate the work that's been put in. One of my questions was about the school laptops with email. So I'm happy that those are still accessible, because we're basically rolling back communications 25 years back to my day, us old timers here. Life is a lot busier. I wonder if there's a little bit of an end around, if you will, in the language for exemptions the way I read it, that the old flip phones, your $90 Best Buy phone is kind of exempt from this, it looks to me. So I suspect that there will be a resurgence of those. And certainly we understand not during class time and stuff. So that, I don't know if that's going to be an issue or not. And then for the greeters desk, they're going to be busy. I empathize with them for, 'cause it's so easy just to text. And I think our students are quite responsible, and staff, we appreciate that. And then maybe some clarity for the time schedule. I like the chart that we have, because I can see we're going to rush for lockers at the end of the school day before 10th period, particularly for bus students, and there's going to be changes. So maybe some clarification that once they get their phones after 9th period, I guess it would be, that it's okay to check those if there's a change in plans that they need to stay after or something. And I appreciate that we're having another month or two to work on this draft. And there's some language, it's the second to last paragraph. And I believe this is a carryover from the current handbook regarding the searching. And I appreciate the section 7330 Mrs. McKenzie described about the search and more clarity. I'm a little uncomfortable with, and I hadn't read this language before, about the school officials may search devices if there's reasonable suspicion, yada, yada. I wonder if that language, it's an opportunity to clarify that, because I'm a little uncomfortable relative with that to the Fourth Amendment of our Bill of Rights. So maybe that language could be modified about contacting law enforcement for the proper warrant procedures if need be, and the parents as well. So I think it's just a nice opportunity to revisit this, and I can understand it's a pretty big undertaking that the state kind of rolled over our home rule on this. So I appreciate everybody's efforts, and thank you for your time tonight. So.
Thank you for your comments and questions. Is there anyone else? Okay. We, before we move to our next section is school business. And at the beginning, during the welcome, I meant to, it's our last meeting of the year, I meant to thank some folks who make, get our meetings ready and keep our meetings running. Sarah Barton does a ton for us in that respect. But we also have staff members who set up all these chairs and set up the tables and make things welcoming and ready for us, and then break it down at the end of the day. And then the technology magic, we have Dane with us most times, who's very quietly behind the scenes doing really important work. He gets here early and he stays after to make sure that everything is running, so that we have things are recorded for people who can't make it, and people can also attend virtually. So thanks to all those folks who make our meetings happen all year long. So next, now we'll move on to the school business section, and the first part is the school business consent agenda, and Bonnie Hart will take over in this spot. Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you. As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approve the school business consent agenda, items A through H as presented. Items A and B are standing items, which include the previous meeting minutes, as well as the recommendations of Committee of Special Education. Item C is to approve a proposal for the athletic trainer services for the 25-26 school year. Item D authorizes the funding of the district to approve reserves with any money in excess of the 4% unassigned fund balance at June 30th of 25. Item E is our policies, which we just previously discussed. Items F and G do go hand in hand in addition to the building and grounds minutes, which are required for the 25-26 capital outlay to apply to the state. Item F in particular is a new SECRA, which is required for the state. And item G is a proposal for Tetra Tech to provide these services as required. And item H is to declare 2 buses as surplus, which will then be auctioned off and secured to the highest bidder for these 2 items.
Do we have any questions? Any comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is appointment of Student Board Member Annie Fish.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District approve the following resolution, that the Lake George Board desires to appoint Annie Fish as an ex officio member of the school board.
Got lots of people wanting a second. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Should we just note that she was elected by her peers?
Yes. Yeah. But yeah. Thank you. She elected by her peers. Thank you. Any other comments, discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Welcome. Mhm.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of Lake George Central School District approve the resolution to appoint Elizabeth Pape as voted by her peers as an ex officio member of the school board.
Any questions?
Same comment.
Same
She was
comment.
elected by her peers. Yeah.
Thank you.
What's that?
Said it that time.
No, it wasn't written. So that was right.
Any other comments, questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Welcome, Libby.
The meeting would be shorter.
We're rounding the bend. The next section is faculty staff recognitions, and it's the faculty staff consent agenda.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of Lake George Central School District approve the faculty staff consent appointments, items A through D. Item A is a motion to approve the appointment of Stephanie Pollock to a 4-year probationary period as an English of a second language teacher and speech therapist. Currently, she is on our staff as a speech therapist, but this position is changing to incorporate both certification areas. Items B, C, and D are standing items. B is the extracurricular, co-curricular list for the 25-26 school year. Item C is the coaches list for the 25-26 school year and volunteer coaches list. And item D is the summer jumpstart list.
Yeah. Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Welcome to the new folks on those lists, and thank you to the folks who are leaving the list for your time and commitment to the district. The next item on the agenda is the Lake George Administrative Association contract.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District ratify the professional agreement between the Lake George School District and the Lake George Administrative Association, a 4-year contract covering the periods July 1 of 25 through June 30th of 29.
So moved.
Do you have any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District approve the terms and conditions of the employment for the unaffiliated staff personnel as listed there.
Second.
Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you for all the work, all year long for the negotiations we had a lot of contract negotiations this year, and that was a lot of work. Thank you to you and John and the folks who were part of that. The next item is business administrator terms and conditions. And be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the terms and conditions of employment for Bonnie Hart as business official dated June 10th, 2025, and authorizes the superintendent to execute said terms and conditions of employment.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the addendum to employment agreement for Superintendent of Schools John Luthringer. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby extends the employment contract of John Luthringer as Superintendent of Schools to June 10th, 2030, approves the addendum to Superintendent Luthringer's contract dated June 10th, 2025, and authorizes the Board President to execute said addendum and authorizes payment thereunder. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the Board of Education comments and discussion. And the first item, I sent an email asking folks to be thinking about their committee commitments. And I've spoken to some of you guys, and for those of you who I haven't talked to, I'll reach out just in planning terms. July 1st is our reorganization meeting, and we like to kind of have a sense before that meeting of where folks want to be. We'll vote on it on July 1st to make it official. But so just be thinking about that. And does anybody have any other comments or discussion for discussion? Yes.
It's now a time when I could make a comment about my time here. Would this be the right
Sure.
time?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to make this longer, this meeting, but it's a chance. Okay, so I guess I have to turn this on. I had to write it down because I don't like to talk in public, but I'll do. So because this was my last full board meeting, it got me thinking about my decision to join this board. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. So even though I considered myself an involved parent when my children were students here, and my students got a lot from the school district, I honestly had never given a moment's thought to the school board. I'm going to be really honest. I was just focusing on the teachers and hoping not to be called by the principals. Like that was basically where I was as a student. And I thought I was pretty involved, but so it wasn't on my bucket list to do this. But when I did pay attention to the school board about 4 years ago, what was going on, like just before my decision to run, I noticed that there was a group of people on the board who were really committed to ensuring that every single student in Lake George knew that they were valued, and to giving each of those students access to educational opportunities that would best position them, each one of them, for success. And so it was the people on this board that inspired me. And you've inspired me the whole time that I've been on the board. And your dedication is just, the district's so lucky to have this board. I don't want to talk about myself, I'm talking about all you guys. And then as for the administration, who, as I said, I was really guilty. I took you all for granted. I really did. You know, Jim and Fran, I had a few encounters with you guys when I was a parent, and they were really positive, but I had very little awareness of the multitude of issues that you have to juggle every day, and how you two are like upright and smiling every day is beyond my comprehension. So much patience, like I don't know how you do it, but I'm really grateful that you do. So thank you for all your hard work every day. Megan, I don't even think I knew we had a curriculum director, honestly. But I'm now convinced that it's one of the most important roles in the school. And I'm just so impressed with your diligence in making sure the best educational standards are met. And it goes for everybody who works with you. I know I'm going to leave people out. So please extend my thanks to all the people that you work with who aren't all here anymore, but I appreciate them. At a time when there's talk of like this dismantling the Department of Education, like our local commitment to the high standards for our students to get a quality education is going to be even more important. So our school mission mentions creating good world citizens, and that means citizens who can think critically, who have an awareness of like national and world history, who understand like the core tenets of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Our guest mentioned the Bill of Rights, and such as due process and freedom of speech. And I just feel confident that our district is going to continue to work hard to ensure that our curriculum provides a strong foundation in all this, and that our students are going to be strong leaders in the future. Bonnie, on the business and financial side, you know, it's not just in and outs, you know, money coming in, money going out, like the planning involved, like, wow, you know, 10-year plans, balancing federal requirements and state requirements, and enrollments changing, and there's contracts. And through it all, Lake George is continually listed as one of the most financially healthy school districts in the state. And, you know, that's thanks to your hard work. So thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm almost done, I swear. Sarah, you keep us all in line in all the small ways that on the outside are probably overlooked, like even today. You kept me, but internally, everybody in this room is indebted to you, and you're too kind to let us all know that. But we know it. Okay, and finally, John Luthinger, I wish he were here so I could look in his eyes and say this. He started when I started. And in 3 short years, he's just overseen so many major initiatives to improve our district, including pre-K, the new bus garage, restorative practices, unified sports, a lot of things I talked about because I'm on that committee, but other things too, curriculum improvements. I know I'm missing major things, but the point is that the school has really made major advancements under John's leadership in just a short time. And it's been exciting to watch him just step in and make the position his own in such a collaborative way so that the entire community is happy to like step up to the plate with him. So I hope he's listening somewhere. I don't know. He can have a copy. Long-winded way of saying, even though I thought I might be crazy to get involved, I'm really glad I did. I learned a ton. I'm leaving knowing this district is going to thrive. And even in potentially adverse external atmosphere, the students here have a rock solid foundation of people supporting them. And it's going to include Mike and Annie and Livy now. And so I'm looking forward to cheering you on from the sidelines, and keep up the good work. That's it.
Thank you, Donna, for those. Thank you. And we got a little something to say in a minute. So thank you. We have a few year-end couple year-end thank yous that we want to say. And thank you for that lead in to Sarah. I couldn't have said it better. We are deeply appreciative for all that you do for us, Sarah. And you wear many hats in this district, which can lead to a lot of juggling and can be really challenging. And you do it with a high level of competence, and that competence is wrapped with a warm smile and a positive attitude. And so thank you from the bottom of our hearts. You are truly appreciated for everything that you do. We just have a little something for you to enjoy this summer. Ready for Sarah? Oh. Thank you, Sarah, so much. And next, John Luthringer we are missing him this evening. We wanted to just acknowledge, even though he's not here. Thank you, John. If you'll listen to the recording, I know if you're not tuning in, but thank you for everything that you do for the district in sickness and in good health. Your steady, kind, competent, exceptional leadership is present even when you are not physically here. And that is a measure of true leadership. We are sending our best wishes for a quick healing so that you are back on your feet, enjoying a pain-free life soon, and your flowers will be delivered to you. So thank you for everything, John, that you do for us. And the next person we want to thank is Donna, and Mary Ann's gonna
Never taken the mic.
Not gonna start now.
Oh, she.
You need a beat.
Donna, thank you for choosing to run for the Lake George Board of Education 3 years ago. You showed up at a time when the district was undergoing a transition in leadership, and the cultural landscape was shifting all around us. And in that context, you brought with you to this role stability, a student-centeredness, an interest in and willingness to speak up and ask important questions, and champion district efforts on behalf of students. And you do that with genuine care and good sense of humor too. Thank you for chairing the Culture and Climate Committee. That committee has not been around that long, and it had the least process definition attached to it. So thank you for taking that on. And because of your thoughtful attention and collaboration with the superintendent, that committee now is come into focus and represents an incredible opportunity for meaningful engagement and reflection. So thank you for that. And we don't want you to leave. We are very grateful that we've had this shared experience with you and that you were a part of it, the Lake George School Board. Okay, and so we have this.
Stable before.
Well,
Oh my gosh.
this is for you, hon.
Thank you.
And you are required to open it right now.
Thank you for your kind words. My apologies to my house is like a plant hospice. I'm sorry.
These are hard to kill.
These are hard to kill. All right, a check. I'll do my best. I'm gonna open this now. You want me to finish it? The card too, or no? Oh, it's a cell phone.
Internet enabled.
What? Oh, what? My facial, wait, I have to.
Remember, we're still in public session.
No way. This is, did you really?
Marianne.
This is amazing. Like, y'all were there. For people who don't know, this song has special meaning for my presence on the school board. So this is really great. Like, this is such a good memory that you bring it back. So
Very early on, Donna reworked this song for us in a little rendition. So
I wanted to be a part of it. Lake George School?
Yes.
Yes, they invited me to a party and said everybody had to make a contribution or do it. I swear it said performance, but but you know, give me a challenge and I'll take it. So thank you very much. This is
welcome. Thank you for everything, Donna. Thank you.
Turned out to be a pleasure. So. Thank you all for making it that.
Thank you.
This is great.
Okay, so the next, does anybody have any other things? We have one more public comment section. Is there anybody for that? Okay. In that case, we are on to adjournment. And be it resolved that the Lake George Board of Education be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby adjourns the meeting of June 10th, 2025.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.